Hi guys, welcome back to another Fraser Virtual Museum video. My name is Melinda, I'm a teaching artist and historical interpreter, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Kentucky Derby and why mint juleps are so associated with how we celebrate every year. The Kentucky Derby was first raced in 1875, and it was founded by a man named Colonel Meriwether Lewis Clark Jr. And if his name sounds familiar, it's because he was the grandson to William Clark, as in Lewis and Clark. So Meriwether, as a young man, goes to England to continue his studies, and while he's there, he visits the Epsom Downs Derby, and he realizes that because Kentucky had such a long-standing history of thoroughbred breeding, he needed to bring something like that back here to Kentucky. He wanted to entice a lot of the wealthier clientele, people living in Old Louisville, for example, to come down to the track and celebrate the thrill of horse racing. Old Louisville, by the way, is the largest preserved Victorian neighborhood in the country. He also wanted to entice a lot of upper class women to come and attend the track, and so in order to do this, he built a separate ladies section away from the betting shed, so it felt a little less like a saloon style environment, and that way they could avoid the cigar smoke and also avoid foul language, for example. Another fun fact is that in 1895, the twin spires were designed and added to Churchill Downs, and those have become iconic since then. The same architect who designed those also designed the turret that stands at the Fraser Museum building today. Some of the notable names from the era include Isaac Murphy. He was one of the most famous jockeys in history, and he was also one of the highest paid athletes in the country at the time. Because there was no Triple Crown at this point, he became famous for winning the Derby, the Oaks, and the Clark Handicap in 1884, which was a big deal to win them all in the same year. Next came Jimmy Wingfield, another famous jockey from the era. He was really talented and he won 2 Derbies back to back. He probably could have earned a third win, except that in 1904, that following year, unfortunately, Churchill Downs decided to ban black jockeys from participating in the competition. Finally, I'm dressed as Laska Durnell. Her name isn't well known, but she was the first woman credited with owning and breeding a Kentucky Derby winning horse. The horse's name was Elwood, and she actually traveled all the way from San Francisco to enter her horse into the race, despite her husband's wishes. While Churchill Downs was growing and attracting more and more people every year, another man named George Garvin Brown got his start as sort of a pharmaceutical rep. At the time in the late 1800s, doctors and physicians would travel town to town collecting whiskey for medicinal purposes. And often, while they'd have trusted suppliers, there was really no way of being able to tell what was good whiskey and what was bad whiskey. The color of bourbon comes from being aged in charred oak barrels. So to get around this, a lot of nefarious distillers would actually start adding a bunch of stuff in there that made it look darker than it was. Things like iodine or tobacco juice, for example, stuff you don't want to drink. So in an answer to this, Brown realized that he needed to first start his own brand called Old Forester, which he opened with his cousin. And he also was a big proponent of the Pure Food and Drug Act, which passed in 1906. This meant suppliers were forced to put a seal around their packages to make sure that they hadn't been tampered with, and they had to be honest about the ingredients that consumers were buying. Old Forester is one of the biggest brands in bourbon today, and in fact, it's the official brand that goes into making mint juleps at Churchill Downs if you visit the Derby. All told, over the course of Oaks and Derby every year, they serve 120,000 mint juleps. So that's 10,000 bottles of Old Forester and about 1,000 pounds of fresh mint. Finally, George Garvin Brown is actually the ancestor to Owsley Brown Fraser, who founded the Fraser History Museum. Of course, no Derby video would be complete without adding your Derby hat. So thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed today's video, comment below, let us know your favorite memory from visiting the Derby. And if you've never been, maybe post your favorite cocktail recipe, or if you've tried a mint julep before, or share with us what you like to celebrate where you live. So thanks again for watching, and from our Fraser family to yours, we'll see you online until we can see you in person. Bye.